As an artist, I love, adore, live and breathe animated movies. So much so that it's become a running joke in my friend group that if it's not animated, Kenny won't watch it. Which sounds silly, but that statement is mostly true. I'm always on the hunt for new animated content to enjoy and consume. Over this past Thanksgiving break, I stayed at an Airbnb, and my bedroom had a TV. I figured I might as well find something to watch, so I opened Roku TV and started scrolling. A movie caught my eye, a movie I'd heard of before, called Red Shoes and the Seven Dwarves. And I thought, I've heard really good things about this movie, I should watch it. It's been on my watch list for a while. And then that one action severely changed my mental stability going forward. Ranting about my current hyperfixations is almost a staple on my channel at this point. So here, take a video about me gushing over one of my new favorite things. This video will obviously contain spoilers for the movie, so watch at your own transgression. Spoilers forewarned, I'll give a brief summary of the plot. I will not go heavily into it as there are many other videos out there who have done this but better, so I do not feel the need to go in depth about the plot. But here is a bare bones summary. The whole premise of the story is to try and find Snow White's father. The story opens up with her searching her stepmother Regina's hidden tower area, which, newsflash, Regina is a witch, and Snow finds the magic red shoes, which she puts on and then transforms into red shoes. Henceforth, she escapes the tower, meets the Fearless Seven, goes on adventures to try and find her missing father while trying to escape Regina on the hunt to find her and attempts to get her magic shoes back. At the end of the story, mysteries and curses are undone, and Merlin and Snow are their true selves again, and King White is found, and Regina has been defeated. It's a simple story, but I really appreciate that about movies, especially nowadays. I feel like in our current culture of media, heavily detailed and complex stories are sort of normalized, and the concept of a simple story has no longer become the norm in film or media. But that's one thing that I find really, really refreshing about Red Shoes is that this movie, it's just so charming and simple, and it accomplishes everything it needs to. This movie was created and animated by Sidus Animation, and from what I can tell, this was Sidus Animation's animated movie premiere, being the first movie of theirs to be fully animated in Korea with zero American outsourcing. And for a studio's first animated movie, holy moly guys, they knocked it out of the water. This movie is visually gorgeous, especially the character designs, the hair animation and movement, and the lighting. All of those elements are what truly stood out to me about this movie. There are many people who have stated this before, but the marketing for Red Shoes ultimately kind of set up this movie for failure. Long story short, the marketing for this movie did not at all represent the message the story was going to tell. The marketing was outsourced to somebody else, and people who worked on the movie were furious to see that this was the kind of marketing that their film was receiving. Many people who worked on this film apologized and said that the marketing does not reflect the message of the film they made. So that alone gave people really bad impressions about this movie, but in reality, it's fantastic. Here are some of the things that I personally really loved about this film. I can close my eyes and envision every character from this movie so vividly. All of the character designs are honestly amazing. They're memorable, they're striking, they portray exactly what they need to portray about each of the characters. It's just, in short, it's done very, very well. I would say that the only character design that ever really fell kind of flat for me was Regina, the main antagonist of the film. But that has to go with the entirety of Regina's character. I have a few issues with Regina, mainly because she just plays as a catalyst to be a antagonistic force throughout the film without really much of characterization to her or reasoning. And her character design itself just looks like Mother Gothel to me. I don't know, it just doesn't scream anything original about her, especially because the rest of the movie portrays classic fairy tales but with a twist. But Regina just really doesn't portray that to me. She's the only character I would say I have some reservations about, but other than that, I love every other character in this movie. Okay, since we're on the topic of characters, my favorite of the quote-unquote villains in this movie is by far Prince Average. Sorry, Prince Average.
Is it dwarfs with an F or dwarves with a V? I want to use whatever's more offensive.
Oh, it's that loser, Prince Average.
Heard that? It's average.
Fun fact for my fellow nerds out there, the voice actor for Prince Average is the same voice actor for Dr. Gearloose in the 2017 DuckTales reboot, so that's pretty cool. Now you know. But Prince Average is so funny, and honestly has some of the best one-liners in the entire film. Like, I genuinely had so much fun whenever Prince Average was on screen. He's funny, he's comedic, he's just the right amount of sassy. I have no notes. Prince Average is perfect. And to me, dare I say, he's a little more than average. I need to stop. But on the topic of characters, there are two more characters that I really feel like I need to talk about. First being Snow White / Red Shoes. I love Snow White in this movie. I love the way that she is portrayed as both Snow White and Red Shoes. I think one common critique I see about Red Shoes' character is that she has no character arc, which I disagree with you actually. There are several points throughout the movie where we see her inner conflict, like in the woods when she turns to her shoes and she's like, he likes you more than me. And she chooses, selfishly, she chooses the shoes over being herself. So whoever said she had no character arc, I think you are incorrect, my guy. I think this version of Snow White is the perfect female princess main character to have on screen that I think would send a very, very positive and empowering message to young girls out there. I think if I had watched this movie when I was younger, Snow White would have stood out to me and been more meaningful. And even then, Snow White's character is very meaningful to me, even now, in what she represents. I love Snow White in this movie, okay guys? Okay? Settle down. And there's another important character I need to talk about. And oh my gosh, guys, it's Merlin time! It's Merlin time! I knew that you guys would be waiting. The crowd goes wild! Whoa! What really meant a lot to me is that this movie talks about self-love and loving somebody for who they are and not what they are. And you would think that the person who would be learning this lesson would be Snow White, but this kind of subverts that expectation, where Snow White already knows these truths, but it's Merlin who actually learns this lesson in the movie. The guy who is self-proclaimed impossibly handsome and is super vain and full of himself is actually the character to truly realize what self-love and what really true love actually is. Throughout most of the movie, Merlin can't even fathom Red Shoes actually loving him for who he is, because that's just so foreign to him. He can't even comprehend that somebody could love him as he was, a green dwarf. He just thought it wasn't possible until he learns from Snow White what real love truly is. And I think that's really beautiful. And frankly, it's a part of the movie that I feel like when I've heard other people review it, that point isn't really talked about a lot. But I feel like that's such a huge thing that needs to be portrayed in media that we consume or the media that young children consume. And that's how Merlin starts off in the beginning of Red Shoes, is that he's very much purely trying to impress her so he can break his own curse. Again, going back to his own selfish vanity. Trying to become his old self again because he believes that's the only way he can truly ever be loved. But when Snow White falls in love with Merlin, it literally shattered his whole world. In that scene in the forest where he's talking with himself, having a self-reflection, that was a really, really powerful moment and probably the most powerful scene in the whole movie. And I really, really love it. Oh man, this movie, I sure do love it, as I've mentioned multiple times. But one of the things about the movie I also want to mention before the video ends is that the music in this movie is so fun. Like, it's silly, it's goofy, it's funny, it's out there. The movie will literally go full-on K-drama, Disney Channel original movie on you and like play silly songs out of nowhere when either Merlin's having a moment with Snow White or whatever. That's an element of the movie that I really enjoyed. Some people find it cringy, not me though. I dig that stuff. And then there's this one song in the movie called Something So Beautiful, and like, okay, when I watched that movie, I was like instantly hit, like my pupils expanded and I unlocked a whole new hyperfixation. And that song from that movie, I would not be surprised if it was on my Spotify Wrapped next year, because I listened to that movie, not kidding, for probably like 8 hours. Like, that song is not even like that quote unquote good of a song. It makes me happy. It makes me think of the movie. I don't know. But those were kind of my thoughts about this movie. That is, again, my current interest, one of my hyperfixations. I hope I could introduce it to some people. Places where you can watch it. I know it's currently on Roku TV as well as on Amazon Prime. As far as I know, those are the only two places I know of where you can watch it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this entire video. It was super self-indulgent to me. I've been looking for an excuse to yap about this movie, and a YouTube video seemed like the perfect reason to. I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully it doesn't take forever. I know content has been slow, but thank you guys for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye bye, later.